Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom from the UH Sanctuary to all of the many Mikdash Me'atot, the many Mikdashim, I think, the many sanctuaries that are connected from this one to your home. And as we welcome in this Shabbat, I'm going to ask that you grab your candles, your Kiddush cup, so that we can welcome Shabbat in together. Maybe. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light as we welcome in the warmth, the light, the blessing of Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
And if you have some sort of grape beverage, this would be the time to have that with you. And if you're able to, I ask that you rise for the Kiddush. And there was evening and there was morning, the sixth day. The heaven and the earth were finished in all their array. On the seventh day, God finished the work that God had been doing. And God ceased on the seventh day from all the work that God had done. And God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, because on it God ceased from all the work of creation that God had done. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu. Shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon inchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh bereshit, ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim. Kivanu v'acharta, yotanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, b'shabbat kodshecha, be'ahava uvratzon, hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. L'chaim.
You may be seated. I'm going to ask everyone to close their eyes for a moment. Close your eyes. I want you to imagine the world before automobiles. Imagine yourself walking down the street, and you notice someone transporting a heavy load of fresh vegetables on the back of a donkey. And you notice that that donkey is struggling. Each step forward requires significant effort. And with each step, that donkey is wobbly. What do? Maybe you offer to help. But now, what if I add that you are running late to wherever it is that you are going? Do you stop? Now let us say that the donkey falls. It's likely that many of us would stop to help, but by that point, we are of little use to that donkey. One person can help unload the burden of a donkey, but once that donkey has fallen, it is going to require 4 or 5 other people. The time to help that donkey is before it collapses. So open your eyes. Why am I talking about a donkey with a heavy load? In a comment on this week's double portion of Bahar and Bechukotai, Rashi utilizes this metaphor of the donkey who is overburdened to explain the Torah's mandate for us to support people who have fallen on hard times. Specifically in our parasha, it speaks of those who have fallen on difficult financial times. We are told we must not lend him money with interest. In fact, we must help this person stay in the community to the best of our ability. Rashi cautions that we must not wait for this person to become so destitute that by that point, it may be too late to support him. Like a donkey whose burden is too heavy, we must intervene when people struggle with the initial stages of difficult circumstances. The window to help is immediate, and it often closes fast, because as burdens pile up, a person can very quickly become overwhelmed. Some of our sages explain that this mitzvah includes emotional and spiritual struggles as well as economic ones. Of course, these are often intertwined, but not always. Financial and emotional hardship can be hard to spot in friends and neighbors. And now, during this period of COVID and throughout, our being physically separated from one another increases the invisibility of those who struggle, not just financially, but emotionally, and those who struggle spiritually. The Torah calls us to attention, urging us to increase our sensitivity to those around us. This week's parasha calls on us to care for those whose financial and emotional burdens weigh them down, and to also think about our own needs. Protecting ourselves and supporting those who struggle go hand in hand in Judaism. They are not separated. The ethos of pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, which is so often described as an American value, is actually not really a Jewish one. We cannot be well when someone else in our community suffers. And so the time for intervention is before one collapses. So instead of waiting for one to pull themselves up, we help them pull themselves up. As the Torah states, when we encounter a person who suffers from their burdens, v'hechazakta bo, you must strengthen him. And as we move through this, I pray that we find that compassion and generosity that will help support ourselves and those in our community who are collapsing from the burdens of this time. Keeping in mind that collapsing doesn't have to be something big and dramatic. Collapsing can feel as simple as being tired, as hitting a wall or a low point and simply fearing what comes next. It can be feeling lonely and in need of something, a hug, human touch, a smile, understanding, a spiritual lift. This week, an incredibly powerful poem was shared with me, and I share it with you, perhaps to strengthen and uplift you as we continue to move through this time. It is called The Trough by Judy Brown. There is a trough in waves a low spot where horizon disappears and only sky and water are our company. And there we lose our way unless we rest, knowing the wave will bring us to its crest again. There we may drown if we let fear hold us in its grip and shake us side to side and leave us flailing, torn, disoriented. But if we rest there in the trough, in silence, being in the low part of the wave, keeping our energy and noticing the shape of things, the flow, then time alone will bring us to another place where we can see horizon, see land again, regain our sense of where we are and where we need to swim. This week, as we conclude the book of Leviticus, we say, Chazak, Chazak, v'nit chasek. And as Rashi said, and as our parasha says, we must strengthen him. Let us be strong for ourselves, and when needed, let us strengthen one another, lifting each other as we move forward toward the horizon. Shabbat Shalom. And as we now welcome in Shabbat, that time of rest, hopefully a time of peace, we do so as we welcome in the Shabbat bride, the Shabbat queen, with Lecha Dodi. Page 138.
Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabala. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabala. La 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabala. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad. Ishmi'anu el hameyuchad Adonai echad u'shamo echad v'shem lo tiferet v'litchi la 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat, lechu ben elcha, ki hi makor haberacha, merosh mikedem nisucha, sofa aseh b'machshavat chila la 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat ka. Please rise. Penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. You can face a door that the entrance you came into. Boi v'shalom, ateret bala, gam b'simcha u'b'tzola, toch emunei am segula. Boi chala, boi chala. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. La 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela.
We continue on page 146 as we remain standing for Baruch Hu.
Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la la Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Page 148, we read together in the Hebrew. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chochma poteach she'arim, uvitvuna mishane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umesader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtsono, borei yom v'layla, Golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Uma'avir yom umevi laila, umavdil bein yom uvein laila, Adonai tzavaot shemo. El chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. And out of our prayer books, a poem called Courage, by Rabbi Karen Kadar. And I said, oh, if only I had wings like the dove, I would fly away and find a restful abode. I would wander afar while hastening to find a haven from the stormy tempest. And so I pray that my spirit have the strength to soar, that my heart have the courage to seek, and my mind the wisdom to discover a life of meaning and purpose. Grant me, O God, strength, courage, and wisdom. As we turn now our hearts and our souls and our minds toward God, as we quiet ourselves and then listen for our own call, reaching out to God and expressing that oneness of God as we join together in Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
You may be seated, and we'll continue on page 154 as we join together in chanting Ve'ahavta.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Vishinantam levanecha, vidibarta bam, bishivtecha beveitecha, uvelechtecha vaderech, uvshochbecha uvekumecha, ukshartam leot ayadecha, vehayu litotafot beineinecha, uchtavtam, Al mezuzot beitecha uvisha'arecha leman tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'item kedoshim le'Elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim Lihiot lachem le'Elohim, ani Adonai Elohechem.
page 157. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. So we join together in Mi Chamocha.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, doratehi lo, oseh pelen. Who is like you? Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, Adonai? Moses and the children crossed the sea. They sang to you with songs of joy. Who is like you, Adonai?
As we move from Mi Chamocha, that moment of redemption, of God's power and might, of miracles, we move into Hashkivenu, our evening prayer of peace, where we envision that as we prepare to lie down this evening and go to sleep, that God shelters us and God holds us in God's presence, keeping us safe.
Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamideinu shomreinu lechaim. Spread the shelter of your peace over
continue now on page 162 with Vishamru.
Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti leolam, oti leolam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi Shabbat vaynafash, Shabbat vaynafash, Shabbat vaynafash. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam.
As we prepare for the Amidah, we take pause and we take moment to the uplifting God, Help Me by Rabbi Karen Kadar. The longer I live, the more I understand that the power is in the question, not the answer. Questions launch me, set me on a quest. They propel. Answers provide a bench along the path, a stationary place to rest. Who wouldn't want an answer? And yet I feel more alive in the quest, in the movement, even in the uncertainty. When I am sure, I feel small. Take my outstretched hand, pull me through the wondrous mystery of living. Raise me up upon a path in the wilderness, for I long to be servant to the mystery, friend to the largeness of thought, steward of the question. Help me be a vagabond wandering through your boundless world. May astonishment be my guide. I stand before you, curious, unknowing, willing to live in ambiguity. Steady me as I ask, what is the great question of my life, the propelling force? I wonder more than I know. We rise now as we turn to page 164.
Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi agita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Page 166. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei HaKol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot Ve'imahot, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. Page 168. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ברופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. Page 170. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
You may be seated. And at this time in our service, we turn our hearts, our minds, toward those who are in need of healing, be it a physical, a spiritual, or emotional healing. And as this is the first Shabbat in May, May is, if folks did not know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so as we offer words of Misha Berach tonight, we think of all of those who are in need, especially of a healing of mind and a healing of soul. And tonight, if you are thinking of someone who is in need of any sort of healing prayer, I ask that you at this moment call their name aloud and add it to the universe and to our prayer this evening. And before we sing our prayer for healing, a special Misha Berach for mental health. May the one who blessed our ancestors, who named us Israel, Yisrael, those who struggle, bless and heal those among us who struggle with mental well-being. May they acknowledge their own strength and resilience in persevering. May they treat themselves with forgiveness and patience. May they find others who share their experiences so they know they are not alone. May they find help, compassion, and resources when they are able to reach out for them. May they find others willing to reach out first when they cannot. And may they find inclusive and welcoming communities that will uplift and celebrate them. May the Holy One grant us the strength and resilience to support our loved ones. May we find the patience and forgiveness we need for ourselves and others. May we find solidarity and support from other caregivers. May we find the capacity to listen without judgment and with the intention to help when asked. May we find the ability to notice when others are struggling and reach out to them first. And may we create communities that accept, uplift, and celebrate those among us who are struggling. As we take all into our hearts and our minds and our prayer, as we join together in singing Misha Berach, our prayer for healing.
the source of strength, who bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say,
take a moment for silent and personal prayer. And as we move through Shabbat, a reminder that 9 a.m. tomorrow morning is Torah study. 10:30 a.m. tomorrow morning is our Shabbat morning service, and we'll celebrate the bat mitzvah of Samantha Cohen. And at 6 p.m. tomorrow night is our Havdalah next week now. And some upcoming events. On Monday, May 10th at 7 p.m., learn the history of our Czech Torah scroll. That is the really tall scroll at the back of our ark. And we'll be joining to learn more about it, the Czech scroll story from World War II to the diaspora. So how it came to be here at United Hebrew. Next Friday evening will be the confirmation of this year's confirmation class. We hope that you will join us via live stream as we celebrate these young people in our congregation. I invite you to sign up for Tzedek Days. Tzedek Days is an opportunity for us to join together in doing a mitzvah or a social action project. Tzedek meaning justice, and our kickoff Tzedek Day will be next Saturday, May 15th. We'll begin in our UH parking lot, or you can join us live via Facebook as we'll join with Rabbi Bellows for this Tzedek Day. There'll be an opportunity to do what I call Hidur Mitzvah, as we uplift the mitzvah of our community and beautify our community here at United Hebrew. Or if you have another project that you would like to do on your own or with your family, that is certainly something that is part of these Tzedek days. And it will conclude with our next week now with our Havdalah. And then on Sunday, May 16th at 12 p.m. is our Shavuot picnic and hike at Queenie Park. And then Sunday evening, we hope that you will join us as we join together with congregations across the East Coast and creatively, what are we saying, Rabbi Bellows?
We are the East Coast of the Midwest.
Exactly. So we are the eastern coast of the Midwest once you've crossed the Mississippi River. And it's an opportunity to join in with communities different from our own and an opportunity to celebrate and study with others. And we also invite you to take a tour and learn more about our United Hebrew Cemetery. There is an open house on Sunday, June 6th at 11 a.m. And as this is the first Friday night, the first Shabbat in May, that means we are celebrating you who have birthdays during this month. Everyone who is celebrating a birthday. And as we bestow this blessing upon you, blessed is the source that dreamed the day of your presence here on earth. May you feel embraced, enfolded anew by the miracle of your being.
May you feel the deep purpose of your soul, loved and cherished into becoming who you are meant to be. May the inevitable dark gifts of hurt and loss school you in strength and perseverance. May you find holiness when you look into the eyes of someone who loves you. May you be a source of holiness for others. May you treasure and develop your uniqueness and be a blessing to all you meet. And together we say,
Amen.
Amen.
And we also add to that blessing, and I want to mention that she is getting close, Estelle Garden, who celebrated her 100th birthday this past week. We say to her and to everyone celebrating in the month of May, Ad Mea ve'esrim, may you live to be 120, just
Amen.
as Moses did.
Amen va'amen.
Amen va'amen. And now we're going to turn in our prayer books, if you are following along, to page 570, as we count the Omer, a reminder that as we move from Pesach to Shavuot, this is a spiritual counting as we prepare our hearts and our souls for that festival in which we stood, and our tradition says all of us stood at Mount Sinai to become partners, to become in relationship with God as we received the commandments. And so we rise as we count the Omer this evening. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat haomer.
Amen.
And today, Hayom echad va'arba'im yom shehem chamisha shavuot v'shisha yamim la'omer. And today is 41 days, which is 5 weeks and 6 days of the Omer. We are getting close to Shavuot. And we turn now in our prayer books to page 586 as we remain standing for Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני Melechei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Page 591. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad.
You may be seated. And we turn in our prayer books to page 592. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something, something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die. People do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. This Shabbat, the heartfelt condolences of our congregation go out to the families of Saul Dinman, Joseph Elias, Philip Ellis, Jane Terry Kassoff, Jay Shukart, Ruth T. Solomon. We're in the period of Shloshim for Goldie Hogan. This week, this Shabbat, we observe the yahrzeits and we lovingly remember Isabel S. Arbor, Hedwig Ashner, Samuel Bierman, Julia Becker, Louis Berman, Nancy Belosky, Michael N. Bornstein, Morris Bornstein, Thomas E. Campbell, Alex Chakis, Hyman D. Cohen, Jack A. Cohn, Julius Kohnberg, Elsie Deutsch, Patricia Rootman Eder, Joseph Epstein, Sadie H. Feldman, Paul Fishman, Adeline Gallant, Gertrude Gadan, Marvin Gorman, Hyman Gralnick, Julia Schwartz Heller, Harry Huber, Maury D. Jacob, Dr. Milton H. Jasper, Max Judd, Louis I. Katz, William J. Katz, Tilly Fuhrer Kirschman, Goldie Kussmer, Louis H. Leba, Louis M. Lakow, Ida M. Larkin, Esther D. Levi, Robert G. Marks, Terry Weber Miller, Robert Millstone, Esther Cohen Neiman, Adele A. Oglander, Joan Olschwanger, Max S. Peon, Lillian Pollock, Leon A. Preston, Boris Prus, Becky S. Prus, Gloria B. Ringel, Max Roman, Lenore S. Rosen, Rose Janet Rosenblatt, Lawrence Sandberg, Abe A. Schneider, Ray Schnorman, Alvin A. Schnorr, Matilda Scholar, Mo Schwartz, Charles Sirks, Lucas B. Schenker, S. Richard Sherman, Jacob Jack Schipper, Maurice Norden Schreiber, Betty Siegel, Elsbeth Singer, Sidney Sosna, Harry L. Stamyson, Amelia Stein, Max Tabachnik, George Thomas, Sarah Orbach, Irene Ziegler. Zichronam livracha, may each of their memories be for blessing, as we turn to the words of the Mourner's Kaddish on page 598, and we rise. Yit gadal ve'yit kadash shemei rabbah. Bi'alma divrach hirute v'yamlich malchute. B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehe shemei rabbah mevorach le'olam olmei amaya. Yit barach ve'yishtabach ve'yit pa'ar ve'yit romam ve'yit naseh. V'yit hadar, v'yit alev, v'yit halal, shemei de kudashar barichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiram be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Osei shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru. Amen. And on this Shabbat, a blessing for this parasha, specifically Bechukotai, by Rabbi Cheryl Lewart, acceptance. May you accept that you cannot always choose the circumstances of your life. May you feel a measure of peace in the face of life's terrors and dark moments. Never cease to celebrate the freedom to choose your own best path, to respond rather than react to situations you cannot change. Pain and loss will happen, but suffering can be lessened by the way you respond. Hold yourself gently in an embrace of compassionate acceptance each night as you lie down. Amen.
And we end with a song for peace. O se shalom bimromav, buya se shalom aleinu, ve'kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru.
Israel,
Shalom.